Alright, so this is the road to the Supreme Court. Basically, how do cases and people get up to this most prestigious spot in our judiciary branch? Well, in order for a case to actually get to the Supreme Court, it first has to go through this long and just a little bit convoluted looking system. So you start out in a district court, which is usually what you think of when you think of a court, Law and Order type of style. The judge is going to issue a verdict over the case, and normally that's it. But if, say, the defendant, the person or perhaps corporation that you're going against, feels as though this is wrong because, they just lost, they can push for the case to go forward to the appellate courts. These courts' entire purpose is to utilize appellate jurisdiction, which means that they're going to review prior decisions made on the cases that come up to them. So, say in district court, a certain verdict was made, but the appellate judges decide that they want to make a different verdict. Well, that's kind of a problem. And if that's a problem, there is a chance that the case could possibly get to the Supreme Court, the creme de la creme, the best of the best, where everyone looks super awkward except for Sotomayor over there in the corner. Gotta love her. These are the top of the line where only the biggest and the most important cases are going to come to them. If a case has gotten all the way up to the Supreme Court, it is because it is critical to be decided upon. So a quick recap of what the judges actually do once a case comes to their desk. First, they're going to set their own agenda, deciding which case they're going to look at first, which ones are usually going to be the high profile they can shove off for the end. Then they have to actually, make the decisions on the case. Normally, they are going to issue stare decisis, which means let the decision hold, normally requiring some sort of precedent from previous cases. Then they write the opinions, stating why they voted the way that they did, and lastly comes implementation, which as the judicial branch, they don't have much part in, and usually pass that along to Congress to make laws to put their word into law. So since Supreme Court justices have job security for life, the only way that a seat is going to open up is if one of them, dies, or if they retire. Normally, if they retire, they're going to retire with a president who has the same views as them so that they can be replaced by a judge of a similar mindset. So, how does that work? Well, it means that the president is going to nominate a candidate from his shortlist, normally a lower court judge. Then they pass that name off to the Senate. The Senate then has judiciary hearings, and then they confirm the judge, and they become part of the Supreme Court. Except that we know that the president and the Senate don't always agree with each other, which is how we came up with senatorial courtesy, so that the president can basically still get what they want, and the senators can still get what they want. The way senatorial courtesy works is that, say, a state senator wanted to elect Mr. Fitz onto the state Supreme Court for some reason. So they would then tell the president that they wanted him to nominate Mr. Fitz. The president would then do that, and the Senate would confirm Mr. Fitz, and he would wind up on one of the lower courts, thus making the state senator very happy. The way that this balances out is that if the president then wants to nominate one of their own candidates to the Supreme Court, they will remind the Senate about how they helped them out nominating Mr. Fitz and tell them that this time they want to nominate someone fabulous like you. That way, the Senate, who has already gotten what they want in their own home state, is more likely to confirm the nominee that the president nominates and put the president's candidate on the Supreme Court. But of course, it just can't be that simple. 20% of all potential candidates fail to confirm with the Judiciary Committee, the committee on the Senate responsible for testing your competency, ethics, and your background. They basically want to make sure that you're not going to have any creeps joining the Supreme Court, like Bork tried to. What they're not there to test is whether you're active or restrained in your opinions. That part isn't important. What they want to make sure is that you would be a responsible and ethical judge on the bench. And that is how we get wonderfully responsible judges like Ginsburg onto the bench and get cases in front of her for her to clearly spend lots of time deliberating over.